All right, looks like we're live, but maybe. Not sure why my camera's not working. All right, let's see. My camera ain't working. Hello. All right, let's see. Let's see if my camera will actually work. Let's see. Well, it says I am live. Apparently, I can't see anybody and nobody can see me. So that's great. This is what happens when you use new technology, and I swear I had everything set to go. So if you guys are out there, let me know. Hmm. I see people coming in. Hey, everybody. Apparently, I have no image right now. Couldn't tell you why. So we're going to try to figure this out and then hopefully be able to get this done. Not exactly sure. Studio mode. So I'm using OBS Studio. So this might be why. So my apologies. So if I have to go out, I will go back in. And my volume is low. Is that better? Does that help you guys out a little bit more? Is that more suitable? Hopefully that is sounding better. So we'll see if I can get this camera up and running. Not exactly sure why it's not, but it should be. So I'm going to disconnect and then I'm going to reconnect this camera to see what happens. So just let me know at least if the volume is good. I mean, we could start there. And then we will, or I'll at least try to figure out what's going on here with this friggin' camera. Gotta love that. Let's see. Stream. And the crazy part of all this is that, of course, when I did this stuff, everything was working. And I made sure. And now, of course, the day it happens, nothing's working. So that's great. Volume is good. So at least we've accomplished that. So I'm gonna play around with some things here. So just bear with me. Hopefully you guys have some patience and time today. At least I hope so. And we'll see if that works, which it doesn't look like it wants to. Crazy enough. Window capture. All right, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go out and I'm going to come back in, and then we're going to see if this works out. So don't go anywhere. I will restart this this wonderful stream again at some point and see what happens. So let's step out, and I will be right back. All right. Everybody see me? Everybody hear me? So it says we are streaming again. So just give a thumbs up. Let me know if I'm live and in living color with all of you tonight. All right. So Rick Reed is saying, oh, and thumbs up. Yay. So let me kind of explain what happened just now. So obviously, I have never used OBS Studio. And I wanted to try it because I've noticed that this thing looks so much better than StreamYard. So tell me how the image looks. I think it's actually in 1080p right now. I mean, I could do 4K, but I didn't want to, take the risk. Let me just readjust. I didn't want to take the risk of having a shitty, stream. But let me know how the video looks. I'd be curious because in front of me, it looks great, but you know how that is. All right. So as more and more people stream in, if anybody does show up here, we'll kind of say hello to everybody. So hi, everybody. So let's see who's there. We've got RG, Mule, Burke, Bobby, Boldy, Rick Reed. Let's see, Peter K. All right, so excellent image quality. Well, that's great. Hopefully it sounds good, looks good, and we'll get this show on the road. Hopefully more people will jump in and watch this, disaster unfold in front of us here today. And, obviously I wanted to create a live stream. I put it out there, kind of short notice as always. But I wanted people to kind of, chime in with some things and really just give everybody an opportunity to kind of talk about some things. So in the meantime, obviously one of the, a couple of things I want to talk about. The first one is going to be obviously the Sig Sauer stuff. Peter K, thank you, making me blush. The Sig Sauer stuff is happening again. So we'll show a little video of that. And that comes directly from the latest incident that just occurred. We're also going to talk about some new legislation right next door to New York and New Jersey, where it looks like they're going to be, unfortunately screwing over the gun owner again. What a surprise up here in the Northeast. And then we will talk a little bit about YouTube and why I think, I don't know if this is true or not, but why I think there are just way too many gun videos being pumped out daily, weekly, and why I think it's kind of ruining it a little bit. But that's just me. All right, so let's talk. Let's get into this. I'm not exactly sure. Like, I'm not on my YouTube page, so I don't really know like what's on here. I guess I could check it out real quick. Let me see. Oh, it says I got to sign in. Isn't that weird? Oh, I'm not going to sign in like that. That's silly. All right. So anyway, let's get this show on the road. Let's start talking. So the first thing I want to talk about is some new legislation in the state of New Jersey. And it appears that New Jersey is trying to compete for the worst state in the United States regarding gun rights. They want to beat California and New York, apparently, and they're on their way to do it. And that's always kind of exciting, right? Because then at least I could say to everybody, I'm not dead last. And that's pretty cool, So for the, people that actually live in these states, one of the things you have to realize is that to own a firearm here, it's extremely frustrating, extremely irritating, because they put up every obstacle known to mankind to kind of just like limit your ability to own a firearm. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull up my window capture and let's see if this works. All right, here we go. Let me see if I have that still. Let's go over here. Apparently not. So let me go back over here. Okay. Wow, that's not working either. Boy, I'm really killing it today, guys. Holy moly. Let me go over here. Window capture. See, like, this is what happens when you do new stuff. You never know how this is going to turn out. And I swear I was practicing all day because, I wanted to be able to say, oh man, I got this down pat. And now, of course, when I do this, guess what? It doesn't work again. Man, I'm on fire. On fire. So let me do it this way. I'm going to add another window capture. Window capture. We're going to window capture to this bad boy. And then we're going to select a window. We're going to pull this up. Select the window. And of course, it doesn't work. Boy. So, one of the things I have to say is that I'm going to obviously have to get used to using this kind of crap because, I've never really used this stuff. So, that's how it goes, I guess. So disappointing. Oh, there it goes. Got it. All right. Here we go. Fantastic. All right. So I'm going to put that on the screen. Does everybody see that? If you can just let me know. That way I know that you guys are seeing it. That would be happy for me to see. So it should say on your screen there, New Jersey Assembly passes package of gun safety bills, including legislation to ban Glock switches. Does everybody see that on my main screen? It should be right over my face. That sounded horrible. I can even expand it. Let's see if I can expand it here. There we go. All right. So they are seeing it. Okay, perfect. So obviously we see this here, talks about this new bunch of legislation they passed. And as you go through it, it's kind of crazy, some of the things they're saying here. This is obviously, you can see where I got this from. This is Everytown. If you guys know anything about Everytown, it was formed after the shootings up in Connecticut. And as a result, this group is pretty much a lobbying group, and they're really hard on in regards to, just stopping gun rights. Thank you, Rick Reed. Oh, thank you, man. I appreciate it. I could use it. So first off, this is an interesting article because of the fact it tells you what they're actually trying to pass. So it actually passed the legislature. Now it's up to the governor to sign, which in all likelihood the governor will sign this. So we're going to go through these one at a time. It says a prohibition on the possession of digital instructions to illegally manufacture firearms and firearm components. So that one's kind of an interesting one for the simple fact that what does it really mean, right? Because what does it mean if somebody is manufacturing or using some sort of instruction manual online digitally? And, what does that mean for, let's say you buy a Sig, right? And you have a digital manual on how to take out the FCU and put it into another lower. Is that illegally manufacturing a firearm, right? Now, and I think everyone in here could probably agree, I wouldn't agree that it is, right? I mean, I think it's just you're taking your FCU out and putting it into something new. So is that really creating a new illegal firearm? I don't think so. But is this a loophole? Is this another, possibility for an organization or a government to now, throw you in jail for something as stupid as this? That's just one of the many dumb things they're doing. So the second thing is the legislation is to increase protection for victims of domestic violence by also requiring respondents to surrender the ammo, firearm accessories, and firearm components in their possession. Now, some people might say this is a good one, right? I mean, I don't want to see anybody getting beaten up or hurt, whether it be male or female in a domestic situation, right? So some might agree that if someone has proof that they have been domestically battered, okay, the cops might want to come in and remove anything that could possibly cause harm to that other individual. Sensible. I think it is, me personally. However, what if somebody claims they are hit, hurt, or violated by their spouse or live-in or whatever it is, and then all of a sudden the police take your stuff and there's no proof, there's no investigatory process, and it's basically a knee-jerk decision. So now you're out of all your stuff And I know many of us who know things about how governments run, you realize all the red tape that it surrounds. And now, instead of you being able to get your own property back based off of nonsense, now, unfortunately, you don't get any of it. So Scott is saying, sounds like a violation of the First Amendment. And also, so are they going to take away the person's car or screwdrivers or hammers? And that's a great point too, right? It doesn't have to be a gun to be a weapon, right? You can take a fork. You can take a knife. You can take a baseball bat. You can take anything in your house to turn it into a weapon against someone else. Hell, you could even take your fists. So what are they going to do? Cut your hands off and give them back to you at a later date? Again, this is a lot of knee-jerk reactions for gun owners, people who probably have never been involved in the legal system at all. And yet, is this a violation? I would say probably is. Again, legislation to strengthen data reporting requirements regarding shootings that do not result in bodily injury. So basically, this is, basically, I guess, reporting anytime a gun is discharged in the state of New Jersey. And this one was kind of an interesting one because when you read it thoroughly, it doesn't really specifically state what does that mean either. So like, for example, let's say you have like 50 acres of property. Well, you go out on your 50 acres of private property and you just charge a firearm. Are you basically creating a legality problem for yourself? Because according to this, they're going to come out there, they're going to take a report, and then they're going to say, well, even though it didn't result in bodily injury and there was no harm or no attempt to harm, we're still going to take down the report and consider you potentially a threat. Ooh, I don't know what that was. And so now that you're a threat, guess what? Now you're going to have your rights limited. So again, another representation of an overreach. What a surprise. Again, legislation to require state agencies to thoroughly vet the firearms dealers they use to procure their firearms and ammunition to ensure the state does not do business with bad actors in the industry. Well, I don't even know what that means. Who is a bad actor in the industry? I mean, could we say Sig is a bad actor because their damn guns go off by themselves? Maybe. But what does that even mean? They're going to require state agencies to thoroughly vet the firearms dealers they use to procure their firearms and ammunition to ensure the state does not do business with bad actors. So I guess if a police officer wants to buy a gun or buy ammo or something of that sort, they're kind of SOL because of the fact that if it's considered buying it or procuring it from a bad actor, whatever that means, they can't do so. They can't do business with that person. So let's rewind that, right? Let's say, for example, a gun is used in a crime and it's made by Glock. Well, does the state now consider Glock a bad actor because of the fact that that gun harmed someone? And now as a result, the police department can't buy a Glock. Again, how does this really make sense? Just stupid. Rick Reed is saying he believes they banned hollow points. I believe they did too as well, sir. That was a few years ago, actually. All right, the last one is legislation to require issues. This one is just unbelievable as well. I mean, talk about just an overreach again and an invasion of your privacy. They have promoted legislation to require issuers of credit and debit cards to create a new merchant category code for firearms dealers, which would help banks and financial institutions identify and report suspicious gun and ammunition purchasing activity to law enforcement. Okay, so let's talk about this one. This one to me is the most concerning, I think, for the simple fact that this is precisely what I just went through, right? I was being suspected of doing something wrong by owning too many firearms. I had to go and meet with a judge to explain why I had so many firearms. And at no time had I ever broken a law. And at no time have I ever had any suspicion of breaking the law. So here we have people saying, well, guess what? Just because you're buying this gun or that gun, or maybe you're buying 1,000 rounds of ammunition, now they've invited legislation to come into play and basically say to all of you out there, I suspect you that you're doing something wrong. I suspect you're going to do something because you just bought 1,000 rounds. Not that, well, what is the reason that you're buying 1,000 rounds? It's more or less tough shit. You bought it. It's too much. I'm scared of you. So as a result, I'm going to challenge you and try to figure out what you're really doing. Pretty crazy. I mean, this is again, you know, there are all these organizations out there that talk about a good game about this idea that, hey, listen, you know, we're going to do this, we're going to do that, we're going to defend you guys and all this other nonsense. But whenever these overreaches occur, you don't see anybody. I mean, you don't hear anybody. There's nobody doing anything about it. So it's just unbelievable. It really is. It's just unbelievable once again. And again, as you go through this, it says here, Governor Kay Ivey signed legislation that bans Glock switches. So those of you out there who are trying to get Glock switches, which, you know, whatever you want to do with that. Moski, how are you, sir? Thoughts on the Dexter Taylor case? Guy was just 3D printing in the privacy of his home. They tracked this CC info to find barrels and parts. Right. So again, you know, what is the line we're trying to figure out, right? Are we trying to tell people, hey, we're going to be, you know, putting you in prison because you're 3D printing? You know, are you trying to create a gun? Are you trying to do this? How are you serializing the part? You know, everything is going to depend on where you live. I mean, I can only speak for my disaster state of New York. You know, do I think people should be able to print components for firearms? Well, you could say yes, but you could say no. But I would also ask you this: what if somebody is 3D printing mag extensions for a 9mm pistol? Are you going to tell me they're not allowed to do that? Are you telling me they're trying to create something that allows, you know, more capacity in a firearm? And if that's the case, well, are they breaking the law? Are they abiding by the law? There's too many what ifs in this situation, right? So the bottom line should be, if you are not a criminal element and you have no desire to create problems for others and you have no criminal past, you know, and we could debate that too. You have no criminal past, you have no violent criminal past. Why does anybody bother someone? Why leave them alone? Why not just leave them? They're not there to hurt. And I think the crazy part is that when you look at the things that are happening, and, you know, they always talk about crime and shootings. And then, you know, Kathy Hochul in New York State is touting the fact that gun crime in New York State has dipped at the historic lows. And they're claiming that that has to do with, you know, their policies and the fact that they're fighting gun crime everywhere and all this other stuff. But at the end of the day, is that really what it's about? I mean, you could say that gun crime has gone down, but what about violent crime as a whole? What about using blunt objects? What about knives? What about bricks? I mean, the other day in New York City, somebody just got hit in the side of the head with a brick. He just happened to be an ex-member of Delta Force. But, you know, I mean, it's just, it seems like today, in today's age, it seems more and more that we're trying to categorize people who have never done anything criminal as criminals. And then the people who are criminals, we are trying to categorize them as innocent people. So, you know, I think at the end of the day, you know, whether you're printing 3D printed materials, whether you're not doing that, if you're not committing a crime, if you're not harming anybody, what's the problem? What's the problem? What are you going to tell me, that all the gun crimes that have been committed over the past decade have been by 3D printed firearms with no serial numbers? Of course not. That's not true. Half the guns these people have, you can purchase them in the back alley somewhere. Half of them are coming across the border thanks to the open borders that we had. So, you know, the way I look at it is, if you're going to classify people who have never done anything to anyone as criminals, and now you have Big Brother watching you on your credit card sales, and, you know, these companies are giving the information over freely and without any problems. I mean, what is the message we're sending? You know, we have a new president. We have a congressional mandate, right? And yet, what are we seeing? We're still seeing states usurp the Constitution of the United States. So, you know, the Supreme Court is turning out to be more worthless than anything at this point. And, you know, while they sit there and they say they're for the people, I also think at some point, like, what people? Who are they for? And that's kind of a problem, at least in my opinion. So it says here, machine gun conversion devices, including Glock switches, or aftermarket devices that allow users to convert semi-automatic firearms into legally fully automatic machine guns. These devices allow pistols to fire up to 1,200 rounds per minute. 1,200 rounds per minute. I'd like to see that. I mean, no offense, I would like to see that. I want to see somebody shoot 1,200 rounds out of a Glock in 1 minute. I want to see what happens. I want to see if the person's hand melts or if the gun explodes first. Unreal. Let's see. A rate as fast as or faster than many fully automatic firearms and machine guns used by the United States military. They have been turning up at crime scenes across the country and pose a particular threat to law enforcement officers. So again, here's what I would say to you. It is a threat to law enforcement officers, no doubt. It's a threat to everybody, including the general public. The problem is that the people who are getting these guns aren't the average guys and gals. It's not me. I don't have a Glock switch. I don't want a Glock switch. So maybe we need to investigate where the Glock switches are coming from and then destroying the organization that is peddling that on the street. Maybe that's what we need to do. Moski is asking, have I ever met any law enforcement that would bind someone up in Safe Act laws? Most I've asked said no, unless it's a tack on. So I don't, it depends, man. It really depends. You know, I know a lot of cops in this area where I live in New York. And I think for the most part, they are pretty smart and pretty diligent about doing their job. That's the first thing. But I also think they are also very alert and aware that there is a kind of encroachment on our rights as gun owners, especially when it's just an average person, when there's no connection to crime, when there's no desire to commit crime. But I also tell you, there are some of those guys out there and gals out there who are new to the job and they're just going to bust everybody because they're going to make a name for themselves. And you're going to get that wherever you go. So, you know, I think the majority who've been on the job and have been established on the job aren't really necessarily going to bother if, like, let's say you're carrying a 15-round magazine. You know, they might, but the likelihood is probably very little. More than likely, they're going to say, dude, you got to make this disappear, or they may confiscate it, right? I don't know. But I think you could always run into that gung-ho one, the one who's in there and saying, I'm going to be this guy or that girl, and I'm going to do my job to the best of my ability, even though in reality, it's an encroachment on our rights. So I think it's going to be depending on who you run into. So it says here, New Jersey currently ranks 6th in the country for the strength of its gun laws. And as a result, the Garden State has the 4th lowest rate of gun deaths in the country. Oh boy. In an average year, 437 people die by guns and another 1,265 people are wounded. Gun violence costs New Jersey $5.3 billion each year, of which $168.9 million is paid by taxpayers. So my question would be, what is the money? Why are they paying $5.3 billion each year? What is it for? You know, is it for lawsuits? Is it for medical? Is it for, I don't know. Why would they pay $5.3 billion each year? And more importantly, why is 160, let's just say $9 million paid by taxpayers? What is it going towards? So it says, click here. Let's click here. I have no idea what this is. Could be porn. I don't know. Oh boy. But again, here you go. And this is down the rabbit hole, folks. So one of the things I would always say is that, you know what? Statistics are kind of interesting because you can make statistics look any way you want them to look. And if the people or the organization or the person behind the statistics have an agenda, more than likely those statistics are going to defend the agenda of those people. So please just keep that in mind. So this is interesting. Oh, let's see. Let's look at New York. Oof. Oh, in an average year, 984 people die by guns. Okay. All right. Hold on one second. Let's put that in perspective really quick. And again, not to minimize this. I don't want to minimize people dying because that sucks. All right. So to put it in perspective, 984 people die by guns per year. Currently, in the year 2024, there is 19.8 million people who live in the state of New York. Okay, so what does that mean? Well, 19.8 million, I mean, this would be like 0.1%, 984 people. So, I mean, is it statistically that high? I mean, I guess you could say it might be. And I know there's going to be people who argue that one person who dies by gun is bad, right? Because we don't want people dying like that. And I agree. I think it's bad if people are dying like that. But at the same time, you know, is it statistically that significant? And I'm not sure about that. And again, when you look at the national statistics here as well, 45,738 people die by guns in an average year, rate of 13.7 deaths per 100,000 people. You know, let's see a gun-friendly state. As somebody out there, pick a state, and let's see which one is a gun-friendly state, because you can see the numbers here in a not so gun-friendly state. So somebody pick a state. Anybody who's watching this, pick a state. If there's anybody watching that, I mean, you might have all gone. I don't even know. But let's see. Pick a state. Any state on the map. And we won't make fun of you if you just randomly say the wrong state or whatever it is. Idaho. Rick Reed coming for the win. Oh, that's Iowa. Where's Idaho? Jesus Christ. I need to know my map. Colorado, Wyoming. Am I blind? There it is. There it is. All right. So Idaho. In an average year, 316 people die by guns with a rate of 16.7 deaths per 100,000. So it's a 316 people. Okay. Let's look at the total population in Idaho. Let's see if there's any legitimacy to this. Okay, so they've got 2 million people in Idaho, 2.002. So is this, and this is the crazy part, right? So they always talk about like New York and whatever, but they only have 2 million people who live in Idaho. And this is, to me, percentage-wise, this is higher. There's a higher percentage in Idaho. So does that mean they're doing something wrong? Let's try Florida. Ooh, that's a lot. Let's go to New York. I want to see that again. Damn, dude. So Florida, yikes. You guys are just shooting each other too much. So now again, the question you've got to ask yourself is, when you look at these deaths and when you look at these people who die by guns, is it violent crime? Is it suicide? What is it really? So it says, let's see, 61% of gun deaths in Florida are by gun suicide. Okay. 6 out of 10, right? Then what's really the question here? I mean, do I have to be the person that says it? Do I actually have to make a live stream that's probably going to get banned from YouTube because I'm saying these things? But what's really the question that should be asked? It isn't, to me, well, how do we limit the use of guns? I think strikingly and realistically, looking at the data that they've put out there, the issue is mental health. That's it. Period. End of story. No more discussion about this. 61% of people who are dying in the state of Florida are dying because of suicide. So then what does that mean? To me, that means that, guess what? There is a mental health crisis in the state of Florida. Let's go back to New York. Ooh, 50% of all gun deaths are by homicide in New York State. Okay, so then what's really the question? Is the question guns and average people who own them? Or is the question really about criminal elements who are murdering people innocently in the streets? I don't know. Maybe, just maybe, call me crazy, if New York didn't take a step back on enforcing crime and holding criminals accountable, maybe you wouldn't see this number. I don't know. Maybe I'm right. Maybe I'm wrong. Let's go back to Idaho. There you go. Again, what am I missing here? 86% of gun deaths in Idaho are by gun suicide. So what is so controversial? What is it that they're trying to say here? So I get it. You want to help people who are hurting and want to harm themselves. I totally get that, right? But it's by reducing other people's rights to do so. Why don't we really investigate what's causing these suicides? Is it mental health issues, depression, lack of jobs, poor economy, lack of education, lack of family? I mean, what are the real answers to this? Because to me, banning guns is not the answer, because guess what? Take away the guns, guess what they're going to do? They're going to find another method to carry out what they want to do. Totally stupid. Totally stupid. Let's go to the big state of California. There you go. Once again, I mean, I wonder if we went through every state, which I'm not going to go to, but look at these numbers of suicides. California, high suicide rate. Wow. Georgia, high suicide rate. High suicide rate. I mean, listen, you don't have to be a rocket scientist to figure out there's a problem here. I mean, I can just pick randoms. I'll just pick any random state. Let's go to Texas. Look at that. 57% in Texas. Let's go Vermont. Look at this. 86% of gun deaths in Vermont are by gun suicide. This is crazy. Let's go to West Virginia. I mean, like, no offense. You know, you could sit here and you could argue to you blue in the face that guns are deadly. And they can be. So can cars. So can boats. So can planes. But to sit here and say to us that in order to eliminate violence in America, we have to eliminate gun right owners. Because if you eliminate us, then there are no guns, right? But then when you look at the data, the statistics that they are peddling as this, oh my God, look at all these people that are dying. Oh my gosh, they're being hurt, they're being murdered. But the reality is that's not the case. I mean, did we do Vermont? I don't even remember. Let's go to Vermont. Fuck it. Look at this. These numbers are crazy. I don't know. Let's go to Nebraska. I don't think does anybody live in Nebraska? 74%. Holy smokes. So here's what I'm going to say. New York and New Jersey are 50% and 53% by homicide, right? Yet they're touting themselves as the toughest states on gun crime in America. But yet when you look at all the other states, for the most part, right? We didn't get to all of them. But when you look at all those other states, it's by suicide. So how good and how effective are these laws that you're passing when we lead the country in homicide by firearm? I don't even know. I don't think I could say homicide. Unbelievable. Missouri or Missouri. Yikes. Let's go to Tennessee. Wow. This is startling, man. This is shocking. I think it's like 10 people in North Dakota. Let's see. Wow. Okay. Well, I think we've, kind of, looked at this enough. But, to me, I mean, what is the general consensus here, folks? General consensus is not gun crime. It's gun suicide. So if you really want to fix the problem, maybe you should take some of the money that you guys are raising and invest in a better infrastructure of mental health, right? Get into the schools, get into the households, try to teach parents how to be better parents, try to tell kids how to be more human with each other, get off their phones, get out of social media, right? Maybe understand the word empathy, or what it is to help others. But no, nothing. It's always about, let me restrict your ability to own a firearm or a specific type of firearm. Let me restrict your freedoms because other people are killing themselves. But at no time does anybody just stand up and say, well, wait a second, newsflash for all the geniuses out there. This isn't a gun crime issue. This is an epidemic of mental health problems. Unbelievable. So thanks, Everytown. Thank you. Thank you for producing the data that I guess literally blows holes through the theory that this is about crime, when in fact it's not. It's actually about, unfortunately, people who are feeling so desperate in life that they feel this is the only way that it's going to solve their problems. Never do they once think about the collateral damage they leave behind with all the people that are living and breathing and don't understand why they did what they did. Unbelievable. Sorry, guys, that kind of pisses me off. So, total downer. All right. So then we're going to go into a segue that deals with the, once again, infamous Sig Sauer. Wow, what a shocker. So Sig Sauer, we know, I'm not going to drag it all in and show you the stupid things again about, them taking a stand and it's what was it again? What was it? I forgot what it was. The statement they made, I forgot. But many of you know, all of you probably know, right? Sig came out, made this bold statement saying that it has never been scientifically proven that Sig is whatever. It doesn't discharge. There's no such thing as a discharge with Sig Sauer. And I find that to be, I got to do this 1 second. I got to readjust my camera. There you go. But it never once says anything about like, you know, what about the things that do happen, Sig? Like, seriously. So I'm going to pull this up. Let me pull this up for you guys. It ends now. That's right. It ends now. Well, apparently on April 14th, it didn't end. And I think this is obviously when the video was made. So I think it happened on the 12th or 13th of April. So according to Sig, you're wrong. It continues. It's what it should have said. It said it continues, not that it's it ends here, ends now, whatever. So let's take a look at this. If you guys haven't watched this already, you know, let me see if I can figure this out here. So I'm going to do my desktop audio. Hopefully you guys can hear this. You should be able to. Here we go. I'm going to shut my mic down. All right, I'm going to mute my mic so you guys can hear this. Here we go. Are you guys getting the sound there? I don't think you are because it's not showing here. My God, this thing's a pain in my ass today. It's so annoying. Let's see if that goes on. And again, this was something that I prepared earlier to no availability. What a surprise, guys. Oh my goodness. My goodness. Let's see. Yeah, so apparently it's not coming up. So I don't know. Again, if you guys can hear it, just let me know in the comments. It's like I said, you know, when you do things like this, sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. But I'm certain. Uh-oh, Rabbi's here. And now it's going to get worse. So Rabbi, we've been unfortunately just riddled with oh, that's why. Let's see if that works. Nope. All right. Yeah, I'm not sure why it's not working. Oh, well. It was working before. Now all of a sudden it's not. And that's kind of shitty because I really wanted you guys to hear this video because it was a pretty good video. I mean, it really was. I guess not anymore. All right. Well, anyway, so if you haven't seen this video, I'll kind of go back to the beginning of it. But basically, let me see if I can unplug this. Let's see if that works. Nope. So anyway, if you haven't seen this and you would like to see it, you can go ahead and see it on YouTube. But this is from Achilles Heel Tactical. What they did was they actually had an individual at their gun range at a training. And during the training session, there was another discharge of the Sig P320. And, you know, the range officer, who is the person making the comments in there, he goes over, he initially asks, is that a Sig P320? Obviously the person does respond that, yes, it is a Sig 320. And next thing you know it, he tells them to take the gun off his range. And the guy does, obviously. And, you know, there were some negative comments, I guess you could say. And the negative comments were about the demeanor of the range officer, and I don't know his name, but basically he was saying that, you know, he was there, he was trying to have the conversation with, you know, the person. He said that it might have appeared that, you know, he was a little bit off-putting in the way he responded, not checking to see if the person was safe and all that other stuff. You know, maybe that's right, maybe that's wrong. I don't know. You know, I think that, you know, when you get into that state of mind and, you know, you're trying to, like, I guess, trying to, you know, put it in perspective, right? Because that's kind of the key to this. I think, you know, the problem is that sometimes things happen, right? And unfortunately, you know, he reacted the way he wanted to react. And, you know, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think, you know, he thought he did what he was supposed to do. So, you know, at this point he's talking and then the pistol fires. Next thing you know, he walks over and then the person is ready to go. And unfortunately at that point, you know, what was done. He walks over, clears the gun. You can see it here in the video. He says, "Is this an effing 320?" And he goes, "Yep." So he clears it, tells the guy to get the gun off the range. And his name is Rick. All right. So he basically goes on to explain what his role was at that point. He talks about the idea that, you know, initially the video shows that maybe he wasn't being concerning enough. And, you know, he's explaining in the video that that's not the case, that initially that's what was shown on the video. The video does cut out. And Rabbi is saying that Armsman, I'm drunk. I'm not drunk. I just know what the hell I'm doing on this thing, man. So I wanted to give you a better picture of my mug. So I went on OBS, whatever this is, OBS, I guess it's called, not IBS, Rabbi. And some things aren't working tonight, so we'll master this at some point, and hopefully we'll get it to go when it's supposed to. I mean, I got the image on, I got everything else up and running, so yeah, I'm proud of myself. But, you know, he does explain to people, look, you know, we were going to, you know, obviously, you know, fix this. And they did talk about it, and they basically said that once they cleared the range of the gun, they then began to talk about, you know, if the person was injured or whatever it was. And he said, you know, that was part of what he did. It wasn't shown on video, which I could understand, right? I mean, that was taken into context as well. But I mean, again, it's the idea of, once again, here we go, Sig Sauer. Like, what are you saying? You're telling us that there's no scientific evidence that says that these guns go off on their own. I don't know what else scientific you need, right? I mean, you're watching the gun. The person isn't doing anything. They actually talked to the guy who was standing next to him when the gun discharged. And guess what? He said the dude's hand was nowhere near the pistol. And because of that, you know, he couldn't explain what was it. You know, what is it that caused it? Let's see. Let's look at some of your comments, you guys. Let's see. So it says here, yeah, I didn't hear anything. I'm sorry about that. I don't know what's going on with this. I mean, maybe, I don't know. Maybe I need to have a bulletin board behind me with shit so everybody could see that instead of me trying to figure out why this is not working. But I also think it's because I had everything loaded up, ready to go, and then I had to shut everything down. So it kind of screwed everything up. So I got to figure out how to work that stuff. So that's on me. It's first time with OBS. So let's see. Rick is saying, what a shame Sig used to be a class act. Yeah, they used to be. I'm not sure if they are anymore. Rabbi saying, I trust everything every corporation says. They're the good guys. Sure they are, right? Wink, wink. Armsman, is he asking, was that a P320? It was. And then Jojo saying, what are you talking about? I'm talking about the 320 that went off at Achilles Heel Tactical. And then Rabbi is saying, maybe it's the kind of person Sig P320 attracts. I mean, maybe all of these things are such coincidences, and it's because of the fact that the people who are using them just aren't trained well enough, or just, handle firearms stupidly. I don't know. But I find it just very hard to believe that these guns supposedly don't do this, and yet we're seeing video after video after video of them doing it. So, what does that really mean at the end of the day? It means nothing, because Sig is never going to admit to it, and we know that. So that's it. All right, so the last part of this is the talk about YouTube, which is kind of an interesting one, because I don't know about you guys, but there seems to be this weird trend where there's kind of a lull, right? There's a lull in videos for a while because there's nothing new. And then all of a sudden something new drops, and next thing you know, at every single large YouTube channel, the ones who say, oh, I'm not getting paid, or I'm not getting this, or, this was sent to me, blah, 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 blah. They all are reviewing the same things. And then when you watch the reviews, they're identical. They're exactly the same. There's no real talking points about anything. It's all about, this gun was great. It's the best gun I've ever shot. But I could watch the entire video log of your entire channel, and it's the same stuff over and over and again. You talk about the aesthetics, you talk about the grip, you talk about the accuracy, you talk about just how amazing the gun performs. You never shoot or never show us what it is that you're shooting at, except for, what we can see in your sunglasses when you're shooting super fast with really, intense music pounding in the background. And at the end of the day, you never, ever see or hear anything new. And so that's kind of the part of this where it just drives me crazy. Like, is this really what we as consumers want on YouTube? Like, was that all we're about now? Just simple commercials instead of really having discussions about whether or not these products are worth your hard-earned money, whether or not you going out and spending $1,000, $2,000 on a firearm because you've watched a video on YouTube. I mean, I don't know, man. It's starting to feel like things are getting a little bit thin in regards to the authenticity behind things. And that's frustrating. So here's some more questions about the 320. The Armsman saying, I think if everyone that owned a 320 would read the manual, they would know how to handle the P320s safely. Manual clearly says, do not carry with a round in the chamber, could possibly discharge. And that is true. But I mean, I don't know if that's the way I would want to carry a gun. Rabbi saying, so the first P320 accidental discharge I heard of when a cop got home and dropped his belt and it fired, that hit home for me. My dad was a Leo, and I remember the sound of that belt dropping. You're an idiot. So I totally believe that officer's account. Unless you're not trying to be an idiot. It's hard to figure you out, Rabbi, sometimes. I don't know. And then Jojo saying, maybe nobody examined the gun when it actually happened. Was it clean or dirty? Was it maintained properly? How many rounds had been put through it? So many variables. You're right. Are you getting carbon buildup in the striker chamber? I mean, there's all these variables. And, I mean, I guess you could argue one side or the other on that, but I guarantee you there are probably people in this audience right now, all 10 of you, that have guns that you have never cleaned, and you just keep shooting it at round after round after round, and nothing ever happens. How many people really take out the striker assembly and everything else and clean it down and wipe it down? I mean, probably next to nobody. Rabbi saying, Joe, you send it back, they secretly fix it and say they found nothing wrong. That's a possibility too, right? And then Bobby saying, the big gun channels are for the mainstream gun buyers that do not pick up on the pattern of reviews the channels have. Yeah, but that's kind of interesting too, because I mean, then it has to be asked, like, are people that simple? And when I say that, I'm talking about simple-minded, where they just watch the same repetitive garbage over and over again from 70 different channels of the same exact product, and there's nothing new about the product. It's literally, it's from, you know, from barrel to butt, and then from top to bottom, it's always the same garbage. And I don't know, man, it kind of dilutes the usefulness of YouTube for me. It really does. I'd be honest with you, I don't really watch gun channels anymore because I find them to be boring. I find them to be not really authentic, and I find them to be the same old shit over and over and over again. And it kind of killed the passion, I guess, for me. You know, it doesn't mean that I won't make gun videos myself, and I'm pretty sure my gun videos suck, but at the same time, like, my thing was to say, like, any gun video I make, I'm just going to tell you what I think, and that's why nothing ever hits my channel much anymore, which is fine. You know, there was one point on my channel where I was actually getting, you know, some pretty big places calling me and contacting me, but then, you know, I did the wrong thing, and I said something negative, and that was it. And I would never not do that. Like, I'm not going to do that. I don't care. I could care less. And then Bobby's saying, I was thinking they do not pick up on the pattern because they do not watch many videos because they are not heavily into guns. And that's a possibility too, right? Maybe they're just doing it once in a while. I think there are some people who are just obviously fanboys and gals of some of these individuals. Rabbi saying, yeah, like a 4570 lever action review I saw today, nothing new, nothing exciting, but they're selling it. And, you know, and it's just constant. I mean, the new one that I saw today that just dropped, where it was like 80 different channels had it, is that new Springfield Armory thing that they just put out. I don't even know what the hell it's called. But as soon as I clicked onto YouTube today, because I had a busy day, but I went onto YouTube, I'm not kidding, man. My feed blew up with that. It was like Springfield Armory, Springfield Armory, Springfield Armory. And the crazy thing is the titles are almost identical and the videos are the same. It's the same shit. It's the same shit with different people on it. And then they try to say, oh, well, this is this and this. But how does anybody get any independent anything anymore from YouTube? But that's just me. I mean, that's just my opinion on it. You know, I think it's really just, it's turning into garbage. Regardless, I think SIG really needs to reevaluate the design and the decisions. Leo departments are dropping SIG left and right. I agree. I mean, look, like I said, Bobby, or I think it was Bobby. I can't remember who said that, but the person who made the comment about the fact about, you know, there's so many variables. You're absolutely right. There are a ton of variables here. And the problem is that you don't know what's causing it. And I think that's like the scariest part. Is there are people out there who have 6 hours that nothing ever happens to them, right? But then you have a pocket of people where they're shooting themselves in the foot, the knee, the butt, or something of that sort. And at the end of the day, I mean, something's wrong, right? And it's either mishandling the gun, which, you know, does that happen? Sure, of course. I think it would be stupid to, you know, deny that being a part of it, but I don't think that's the root cause of it. I don't. I think that's, you could pick any gun in any line, whether it's a revolver or whatever. I'm sure there's discharges. I'm sure they are. But this just seems to be reoccurring over and over and over again, and there's really no rhyme or reason. And more importantly, there really is no feedback from the company that's produced the product, except for the fact that there's nothing wrong with their product. So Rick is saying he noticed that when the Ruger RXM came out. Yeah, when that gun came out, man, it was like, there was like a million friggin' videos on that. And the funny thing is I have mine. I haven't even made a video on it. And, you know, I don't care. I'm always late because, you know, I buy my own stuff, but, you know, I have to make a video on it. And, you know, I've been pretty happy with it. I think it's a good gun. You know, do I think it's life-changing? It's not. But do I think they have a good platform on their hands? God, yes. I think it's a no-brainer. I don't know. I don't even know why people buy Glocks. Arm's been saying he doesn't see much gun content on his feed anymore, but I've also moved to watching Rumble. Interesting. Rabbi saying, well, I'm betting most P320s get purchased and never fired. And that could be the case too, right? There are some people who have a million guns. Maybe they got the Sig just because they like to customize it and everything else, but they don't really carry it every day. I mean, the only Sig that honestly, the only Sig that for me, I would say has been the only one that I've ever carried long-term has been the P365 fuse. That's the only one. It's the only one that's carried. And so far it hasn't shot me. So I think that's a good thing. Bobby's saying Honest Outlaw said his 320s have not been reliable for him, right? And that's kind of a whole nother issue, the reliability issue for him. Does that really strike out as, the gun safety issue for him? And again, it's not necessarily a damnation against Sig. I mean, Sig makes great stuff. We all know that. I've said it before, the 229, 226. I mean, those are freaking great guns. M9A1, great gun. 225A1, great gun. 227s, great guns. But the 320s, maybe it's time to put that gun in pasture. I don't know. Armsman saying he's looking forward to getting the Icarus grip module for both the RXM and Echelon. I am too. And thank you for bringing that up. Just so everybody is aware, Monday of next week, the day after Easter, Icarus Precision will be with me live. So show up, ask questions. We're going to just have a good conversation about what they're working on and, what to expect. I don't have an RXM module at this time. I'd love to be able to get one. I'm hoping I will get one, but you know how that is. It looks amazing from what I've seen so far. I've seen some pictures by Travis and this group, and I mean, they're friggin' beautiful. I'd love to have one for the RXM. But that's why I think, Ruger and Magpul did a great job with this. Magpul, I think, is going to get the raw end of the deal, but I think Ruger did pretty solid stuff. Rabbi saying most fun reviewers are full of it. The proof was how most people passed over the PX4. What an incredible little shooter it is. Interesting. Jojo saying too many plastic parts and less spring quality. Right, but I also think, and I'm assuming you're talking about the Ruger. What are you talking about? Ruger, PX4, Sig P320. What are we talking about, Jojo? Let me know. I think personally, for me, gun reviews are not reviews anymore. They are infomercials. That's exactly how I perceive them. I agree. I think that it's gotten to the point where there's more production than there's more than substance. I mean, you could click on any channel, big channels, little channels, medium channels. It's all about production. It's all about having the right camera angle, the right depth of field. I mean, shit, even I'm guilty of it, right? I invested in a new lens and I love this lens, but I don't go out and do stuff with it. I just think, and again, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. Like, if that's your business, great. Like, if you're making good money on it, great. But I think at some point, it's gonna hurt the industry. It's gonna hurt gun channels as a whole. It's just too many. It's too diluted. It's too, it's still too blown up about ego and image, and not really about the substance of the firearms. And I think that's the disappointing part of it. And I think it's hit everybody. I think it's hit every large channel to an extent, and I think it's hitting medium-sized channels. The little guy, probably not as much, or if at all. And then Rabbi is saying, Armsman, you are dead on. He agrees with you. And I agree with you too. I just think it's all infomercials now. Jojo saying, guns remind me of Harley Davidson. So, I think at the end of the day, you guys have to make your own educated decisions on what you buy. Rabbi saying, well, they only say positive things so they get sponsored. We have seen friends in our circle here harm themselves financially, self-sponsoring. Yeah, I mean, look, I initially this chat tonight was going to be like I don't want to say like a negative chat, but I was actually going to call it failure. And the reason why I said that was because me personally, I think I failed at YouTube. And the reason why I say that is because it just is not feasible. It's not financially feasible for me to run a channel based on guns. It just isn't. I've fought the good fight. I mean, for years I've had the channel up. I've gone through a slew of different firearms. I own a ton of firearms, But at the end of the day, there's just no room for me in this YouTube universe about firearms. And it's kind of a bummer. It doesn't mean I'm quitting on the channel. It just means reality. Reality is that it is just not a feasible genre to have on YouTube. It's not, unless you go get sponsorships, you have companies sending you stuff left and right. But then that kind of crosses the line into, well, how much are you willing to sell of yourself to get that? And I don't know. I've never had that mentality. It's never been the pursuit of fame or fortune, and maybe wrongfully so for myself. But, have I failed at YouTube? Hell yeah, I have. My channel doesn't go anywhere anymore. There's not much content produced on it anymore. So at the end of the day, maybe it's me feeling a little sorry for myself, but I really don't. I'll be honest with you. I just think it's made it, like, YouTube and the gun world has just made it so annoying because there is nothing good about it anymore. There's nothing fun. There's nothing intriguing. I mean, there's people out there, that make these amazing videos with great cinematography. And then when you realize the kind of character they bring to that, it's like, why would anybody want to listen to these people or take anything they have to say and put any worth to it? And I mean, I'll throw the name out there. Grand Thumb, he's a piece of shit. I mean, I don't think anybody, if you want to tell me he's not, I'm going to tell you he is. Let's see, Armsman. I don't think there's anything wrong with quality footage, but once big money got involved, it's ruined honest reviews. 100%, right? I think image quality, sound quality, I'm always still trying to figure out how to make things sound better. I don't know about you, but I'm an audiophile. So for me, it's super important that everything sounds professional, even though this is the least professional thing I do in my life. And I like the video quality. I love the quality of my video right now. I hope this actually, when this uploads to YouTube, I hope this is the cleanest stream we've ever had, which would be pretty sweet. Let's see. How did I meet Big Johnson and KS? How the hell did I meet those two? And the only reason why I didn't invite them is because I don't know how to invite anybody on this. So probably Monday's chat it may not be on OBS. It might be on StreamYard. So it's going to be shitty quality. But, at the same time, I've got to figure out how to do that part of it. And as you saw tonight, I am full of issues when it comes to this. So how did we meet? I don't even know. We've never met. I've never met them in person. Never. We just have talked over the years. I just got a bunch of texts from them today about a gun that KS wants to buy. But it's, I don't know. I don't really know how the hell we met. I don't know how we started the chats. I don't know anything. I just know we kind of just hit it off, and, we've had our good moments and our bad moments, I think, as people do who become friendly with each other. We've had some spats here and there, but they've always ended well in regards to who we are. But yeah, I think the character, half the people on YouTube are a character. That's all it is. And it's kind of, like I said, it's disheartening in a way. It really is. Because what are we watching anymore? Why is it that we have guys and gals out there who push content? And for the most part, the content's pretty cool. Like I said, the cinematography, the direction of it, everything looks great. But then it's is the person really authentic? Is that person real? Is that the image they're trying to put together real? I don't believe so. The only person that I know personally that is a huge channel, and I don't talk to him every night or anything like that, but I've had conversations with them, just is Chris at an Honest Outlaw. He's just a real guy. What you see is what he is. He's about the only person I know in this world of YouTube gun channels that's huge and is not a dick. I personally dislike Tim from Mac. I caught him in a lie and he wouldn't own it. He hunted on the same ranch I did and was lying about hiking 5 miles in when there's a road right there. Yeah, I think Tim's been exposed several times for being a douche. Not a surprise. But there are some slime balls. There are definitely some slimy people out there on YouTube. We can name them all, but we won't do that. So we are at 10:15. And I am going to be shutting this down. I don't even know how to do it, so I'm going to try to do it. And you guys might see me in my underwear, but whatever. First off, I just want to say thanks for joining. I mean, like I said, it was a little difficult in the beginning of this because I had no idea what the hell I was doing. I still really don't. I mean, I like the image quality that I'm seeing, and hopefully it sounds great. And when it when it gets uploaded to YouTube, hopefully it'll actually look pretty good. We'll see. I got an RXM video I'm going to be putting out, but that's, again, my own free personal opinion, right? Hopefully Icarus will be on next week, and we'll get that ready to go. Hopefully we can do it on this. I think we can get it to work. But, I'm going to keep doing these. I think these are kind of fun. I like being able to present to you guys some things. I got to work out the kinks a little bit on this system because I'm not really sure everything and how it goes. So I'll have to review all that stuff and just become an expert at it because that's what I do. But, again, I appreciate everybody coming out. We'll be doing this again on Monday. So stay tuned for that. Bring your questions for Icarus Precision. I'm sure they'll be more than happy to answer. And, I think it's going to be a great time. I mean, they're always really good to deal with. I love talking to them. They're just cool people. And then Rabbi Am selling out. Yep. Yeah. I will say to you that listen to this one. So I did reach out to Ruger when it first came out, and they basically told me to go blow smoke. They said I was not a big enough channel. So I bought one anyway, and it cost me like less than $400. And I have to say, I really like it. I do like the gun. It's pretty cool. I like everything about it. Lower's pretty good. Not great. It's a little bit thicker than a regular Glock, but not by much. The trigger's pretty good. It's above average. And so far, fit and finish is great. So we'll follow that up. I'll do a tabletop, then I'll do a shooting review, and hopefully one day get the Icarus Precision lower, and we'll do that too. So I appreciate everybody coming out, man. I hope you all have a great night. Enjoy your Easter if you celebrate it. And if not, that's okay. Go out and, have fun. But like I said, this is where the channel's at. I hope that, yes, true, better than your stock Glock trigger, 100%, no doubt. And it's upgradable, which is even better. So again, guys, I hope everybody enjoyed the chat. And again, we're going to keep on going and doing this part of it. I'll try to do some gun reviews at some point, whenever I get them. But yeah, and that is true. There's nobody who wants to deal with people in New York. So I would suspect that's partially the issue. That's probably the biggest issue. At least I like to believe that. Could be my charming personality. But, that is a hang up, but I have to say, you know what? I have over 25,000 subscribers, and I'm based out of New York. That's like, somebody living in the Arctic and doing a channel on ice cream. So, we'll see. We'll see how it all plays out. But stay tuned. We'll see you guys here on Monday. I think the chat is going to be, I want to say 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We're going to do a little bit earlier because they're on the West Coast. So it'll be 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So hopefully I'll see you guys there. Not, until the next time. Have a great night, everybody.